This recipe is for my easy 4-hour fresh milled sourdough artisan bread. The principal recipe will be in the description box down below. Thank you for watching. Start by adding 228 grams of room temperature water to your mixer bowl. To that, add 300 grams of sourdough starter to the water. For this recipe, I like to feed my sourdough starter the night before so that I can make sure that it's nice and active for this recipe. Mix that well with a spoon or a whisk so that the starter is well incorporated with the water. To that, I am adding 30 grams of honey. The honey is optional. And 300 grams of fresh milled hard red wheat flour. I am intentionally leaving out the salt. Do not add in your salt yet. So we're going to mix until all of the flour is well incorporated and then allow it to sit and rest for 20 minutes. Make sure you cover your mixer while it's resting with a damp cloth or a lid, depending on what kind of mixer you have. After the 20-minute rest, add in 9 grams of salt. Knead until the dough reaches a window pane. This can take anywhere from 8 to 20 minutes. Now that my dough is done mixing, I'm going to take it out of my bowl and transfer it to a clear straight edge container. And you can see here I have a very nice window pane. I'm going to oil my container. I like to use this kind of a container because it makes it very easy to gauge how much the dough has risen. When you're using a bowl that has slanted edges, it's a lot harder to tell if your dough has doubled or almost doubled. So with sourdough, it's really important to be able to track the rise of the dough. My dough is sticky, my hands are oiled, so it may not look like it, but I'm shaping it into a ball and putting it into my container. So we're going to let that sit for 30 minutes, and after 30 minutes, we're going to do what's called a coil fold. And to do that, we're going to start by oiling our hands because the dough will be a bit sticky. And you're just folding the dough over on itself, and we're doing this because we want to do it gently. We don't want to degas the dough and remove any air bubbles that may be in the dough. And so a coil fold is a gentle way to develop more gluten within the dough. I'm going to do one set of coil folds here, and then I'm going to let it rest for 30 minutes and do another set of coil folds. And you just stop once you feel that the dough is too tight to continue to coil fold. And also I want to add that this is optional. You can just do the mixer step and skip the coil folds altogether. This will just make your loaf have more holes in it if you're into having that kind of a crumb in your bread. So I did 2 sets of coil folds spaced 30 minutes apart, and then I let my dough rise until it had almost doubled in size. I would say it maybe had risen about 75%. After your dough is done rising, it's time to pre-shape the dough. And so we want to slide it out of the container very gently. And I didn't oil my counters or flour them. So you just gently take it out, and using a bench scraper, you're going to shape it into a nice tight ball. And then you're going to allow that to sit for 10 minutes uncovered. After 10 minutes, lightly dust your countertop, and we're going to take the dough and we're going to flip it over so that the smooth side of the dough is down on our countertop. And we're going to very gently just kind of press it out a little bit into a rectangle. We don't want to degas the dough. This is just to help us to shape it. You can shape this a lot of different ways. This is how I'm choosing to shape mine. You could just take the short edges and bring them into the center of the dough and then roll it up like a log in the same way that you would shape a sandwich loaf of bread. Now I am making a batard shaped loaf, but if you are doing a bowl or a round shaped loaf, you would take your circle and flip it over on the smooth side and then bring all of the edges in towards the center, and then just flip your loaf over, and you would want to put it seam side up into your Banneton. As you can see, I'm putting mine with the seam side up, and then I'm going to go ahead and just pinch the seams closed. I also lightly floured the top of my dough, and I just want to show you with the poke test. You see how it springs back fairly quickly. This lets us know that our loaf needs to continue to rise. And so I'm going to allow this to sit on my counter for about 30 to 45 minutes before baking. While that sits, preheat your oven to 475 degrees. If you're using a Dutch oven, be sure to preheat that with your oven. If you're using an enamel roaster pan like I am, you do not need to preheat it. So I did another poke test, and as you can see, the dough no longer springs back immediately. So that lets me know that it's time to bake. So I'm putting my baking mat over the loaf and just flipping it over. And I'm gonna use my lame. You could also use just any razor blade or a knife, and I'm gonna score my dough. When you score, you want to make sure your blade is at about a 45-degree angle and about a fourth of an inch deep into your loaf. Go ahead and put that in your Dutch oven or enamel roaster. Put the lid on and bake at 475 for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, remove the lid and bake for an additional 20 minutes at 450 degrees. This is my finished loaf. It did get a bit darker than I had wanted because I had actually forgotten to set a timer on the second half of the bake after removing the lid, but it still came out wonderful. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below. Also, if you'd like to chat with me, you can find me at Lovely Belle Bakes on Facebook. And if you'd like to join my fresh milled flour community on Facebook, the link will be in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching.